this is like a bigger point which I'd love to address at some point in the future if we had like an hour to talk about it. Is that people have issues with philosophy when it doesn't lead to success. But the fact is, you can change your philosophy, but with the personnel that you have, it doesn't make you more competitive. I think what we see people making mistakes, and as a consequence, we think people should change their philosophies. But in reality, like people making mistakes can happen no matter what the philosophy is. Like, say Southampton, for example, we've seen them, like, it's a friend of mine, which is annoying, but Joe Lumley had an absolute stinkering goal against Chelsea last week, passing the ball out to somebody, and before you know it, there's a tap in. Like, Joe should know himself that that pass itself isn't on, no matter what the manager's told you during the week. And he's executed it so poorly that they're punishing now. Someone said, well, change the philosophy. Well, that's the individual error within that. And I think some of the philosophies within football, like if they're working well, great. Like with Spurs, sometimes they play 2 6s, sometimes they play like a 2 8, sometimes they play 2 10s. There are variations which exist in terms of how they play and how they look, where they're going to press higher, defend deeper, and so on and so forth. And because they lose, say, well, he needs to change. Well, change to what? Should we start slinging balls up in the air for Solanke to flick onto Son?
Yes.
Like, is that it? Yeah. Okay.
But also, it's not Ange Postecoglou's fault that, Basuma goes clattering into Caicedo 1 minute, and then Sarr does exactly the same thing into Cole Palmer before the end. I mean, that's the individual stuff again.
I know, and I think for me, in overall, it's a shame because there's certain teams that get spoken about more properly and others that don't. And certain situations where there's more nuance and others where people just perceive it to be black and white. A lot of people haven't liked Postecoglou from the moment he arrived. They'd heard the way he was speaking when he was up at Celtic. It's like, well, he's going to fail in the Premier League. That sentiment of a new manager coming to the league. This is going to be too much for him. But then, like, you've also got, well, nobody's going to do well from the Dutch league. Like, I mean, look at Ten Hag. And then next thing we'll say, Slot, he's doing really well, isn't he? Where did he come from? Oh, right. Oh, interesting. Yeah, no problem. So I think certain things are unfair and managers have a philosophy and I'd prefer them to stick to it. And I'd ask you the question, how many managers really have a plan B? Because the only managers I've had who've had multiple plans have been managers where my team was down at the bottom and we spend the whole week getting ready to deal with the opposition. Because this week we're going to be playing long balls because they're bad at long balls. This week we're going to be like trying to work on set pieces because they're bad at set pieces. Listen, the more of these plans that you have, the likelihood is the worse that your team is, because the best teams have a certain philosophy, they make slight tweaks and they find success. Some of that's down to management, some of it's down to players, some of it's down to moments from people who are the difference on a week-to-week basis in the Premier League. Insert, for example, a Mo Salah.